What's up, everybody? Live stream here, Fantasy Pros. I'm your host, Andrew Erickson. I'm over on PFF.com. I'm on Twitter at @AndrewErickson_ for the next hour or so. I'm going to be taking in all your questions, concerns about Week 7, diving into all the matchups, diving into my starts and sits for the upcoming slate of games. We got a barn burner coming up tonight. Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos. We got backup quarterbacks, backup running backs, backup wide receivers. It should be a fun one. Hopefully we get some action, but there are fantasy implications, of course. So there are a couple guys I will hit on from that game, along with every other game in Week 7 for your starts and sits. So again, get those questions in, and I'll try to hit on as many as I can as we go through this process here of Week 7. But first, as always, we're going to hit on the news and notes from around the league, just kind of getting some updates, some injuries. So I think the biggest thing just to take note of is Jarvis Landry was activated off of injured reserve, and he's expected to play in this game. Should you start him? Probably not. Again, this isn't even a good matchup. Denver Broncos have been a solid unit in terms of their secondary. You have a backup quarterback playing. Now, Baker Mayfield wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire, but the one thing Mayfield did do was target Jarvis Landry a lot, and Jarvis Landry was very productive with Mayfield. So at first, when Case Keenum was named the starter, I almost thought about moving Odell Beckham up my rankings, but then now you have him all banged up with an AC joint injury. He's facing an uphill battle to play in this game. So he's actually a sit. I listed him as a sit in the PFF start sit article this week because I got real concerns about whether he's going to be able to deliver in crunch time. If he plays, I could see him being more of a decoy. And it's not like you're really missing much with OBJ anyway. Like, what has he done so far this year that he needs to be played? Like, you need to play him. It's not, he's not playing the Detroit Lions. Like, maybe that would be a reason to play him, but he's not. He's playing the Denver Broncos, who have a really good secondary. So I think that there's a stay away from the Browns receivers. We don't know what Landry's could be on a pitch count. Like, we don't know. The only guy, like, if you're like super desperate, you need to play. Like, it'd probably be like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I would pick up and start potentially as like a wide receiver 4. He's an option. He's an explosive receiver. He ran the most routes last week for the Cleveland Browns, and really you can only play him if they don't play OBJ at all. So like that, at least you can guarantee that he's going to be the starter on the outside because they've been mixing in other guys. Like Anthony Schwartz gets involved, the rookie that they drafted from Auburn. Rashard Higgins is still on the team, and then they have like 12,000 tight ends that they get involved. So I mean, this game could be a 7-7, 10-7 game that you're just kind of like, you know what? I'm glad I didn't have anybody playing in this game. So I think that's something to kind of take into consideration. One guy I do want to hit on that I think is actually a solid start. I know I've been kind of down on this game overall, but it's D'Ernest Johnson, the running back for the Cleveland Browns, filling in for the injured Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I think it makes a lot of sense to lean on D'Ernest Johnson. Now, something that I've been trying to do more of in my analysis with fantasy is just, I don't need to be super critical about, a running back's talent necessarily all the time. Like, we're looking at D'Ernest Johnson, and he's fine. Like, he's a third-string running back, so are we expecting him to be nearly as good as Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt? No, but we've seen this before. We've seen this play out all season long already with all the injuries. Like, look at all the backup running backs that have had productive fantasy outings. Devontae Booker, Chuba Hubbard, Khalil Herbert. Like, all these guys are fine running backs. They're not anything really special, but they've all been able to deliver because of one thing: volume. Like, they're getting workload in. That's the biggest predictor of fantasy success for running backs is volume. And that's what we're going to get from D'Ernest Johnson. Like, they've talked him up a little bit as being the guy they're excited to be the starter in this offense. We've seen him flash before last year against Dallas. He ran in a long touchdown. So I do think that he could be a good option for people that need a running back too. I really honestly think that he's probably a better option than Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams because those guys split the work all the time. So you're really like not sure, okay, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, like who do I start? I think that Williams is probably the better start because I think that he's more explosive. But I also know Melvin Gordon, he's been really good this year as well. So they're just splitting everything 50-50. So I actually think that D'Ernest Johnson is probably the better play out of all three of those guys because I feel way more confident that he's going to see potentially an 80% snap share, potentially 20 touches in this game, where I know for a fact that that's not going to happen for either Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon as long as they're both healthy, or unless the Broncos just drastically change one of their usages in this game, which would just be totally out of left field. Like, that would be very unpredictable to just project, oh, well, now this is going to just be Javonte Williams' takeover game. Like, there really needs to be an injury in this backfield for one of those guys to really take over. So I do think that it's much better to lean on the side of who's going to get the most touches, and I think that's going to be D'Ernest Johnson in this case. So that's a guy that I like to start in my lineup. look, it's not, doesn't need to be super complicated. And sometimes it doesn't work. The volume, Devontae Booker last week, that didn't work out. But, if you watched that game, like he wasn't even really that bad in that game. They just kind of got game scripted out, and he just wasn't able to do anything. The whole Giants offense could have been able to move the ball. So I don't think that using Booker as an example really makes sense to fade Dearness Johnson, where we have a bunch of other examples of running backs being productive as backups because they're getting the requisite touches. And Demetric Felton has been a slot wide receiver, basically been used that he'd get involved in the passing game. But Dearness Johnson was Case Keenum's most targeted running back in the preseason. Like, the guy catches passes, and I took the over on one of his reception props, 1.5 yards or 1.5 receptions, because I think that he'll be involved if they fall behind. So I think Dearness Johnson is a solid start this week, and I would put him in my lineup, and I feel pretty good about it. I think he's going to get the touches, so I think that he's in a good spot. Matchup's not great, but hey, not every matchup's going to be the Detroit Lions. Again, I'm not trying to hit on the Lions, but they're in for a long day at the office, I think, this week against the Los Angeles Rams. We will see what they can do in this Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff double revenge game. This is very rare. This is a very rare occasion that we get two quarterbacks going head-to-head in revenge game. It's going to be exciting to watch. Hopefully, the Lions can show a pulse and actually do something in this game. Other news, T.Y. Hilton, 50-50 to play. You're not playing him. You're not waiting to figure out if T.Y. Hilton is going to play in your lineup. If anything, it just makes you feel. I feel more confident about starting Michael Pittman. I know he kind of had a down week last week, but he still ran a route on 100% of Carson Wentz's dropbacks. So I think that he's still the alpha in that offense. Paris Campbell is hurt. He's out. So I think that you can fire up Pittman with confidence. I know I've got a couple questions about Pittman, and I'll see if I have any questions about him in the questions when I go through them. But I think Michael Pittman is someone that you can, again, fire up. He was also a start for me in the start sit this week because I just think that 22% target share this year, I think it's still really, really good. I know it went down with Hilton back, but T.Y. Hilton, look, he comes back and plays against the Texans really well, a team that he's just dominated over his entire career. So I think that we won't see nearly as much production from him against the San Francisco 49ers. Tyreek Hill, he's not really practicing that much, and it's not like super concerning. He did play. He was on a snap count last week, but he still was targeted a ton. He still delivered for fantasy, so maybe it's a reason to fade him and DFS a little bit more. Maybe not a cash game play, but I still think that Tyreek Hill was literally put on a snap count last week and still scored over 20 fantasy points. So you're not worried about him. I think that if you have McCole Hardman, don't drop him, just because Hill is kind of dealing with an issue, and McCole Hardman is basically like the Tyreek Hill handcuff. So I'd consider just keeping on to McCole Hardman. Seals Jones and Antonio Gibson return to practice. Antonio Gibson, man, it's disheartening to see him just so banged up and just dealing with the injuries. And really, we just don't have that ceiling anymore with him where we thought he could be a 3-down back, get the pass catcher work. That's really not in his range of outcomes anymore. Like, you can't look at him like what we did when we drafted him in the second round. We were taking him in the second round because we thought, he has a chance to capitalize and get this pass catching work, which is not going to happen. So make sure McKissick is rostered. Make sure Jarrett Patterson is rostered in cross leagues just in case this shin injury just flames up again. And right now, Gibson is a back end RB2. I think if he's playing, you're still going to start him, especially this week with all the buys, but he's not really a back end RB1 until we get more clarity about how he's actually dealing with this current injury. And then the Giants receivers. Giants are just all injured, basically all over the place. John Ross returned to practice. Saquon Barkley remains sidelined. I don't think that Barkley's playing. I don't think Galladay's playing. I don't think Tony's playing. So Sterling Shepard, fire him up because all these guys are hurt. And Sterling Shepard just gets a boatload of targets from Daniel Jones. I think Dante Pettis is like an interesting dart throw in DFS. We saw him get 10 targets last week without all the injuries. Evan Ingram, I listed as a sit because it just doesn't seem to matter how many guys get hurt around him. He just doesn't get targeted. Now, Daniel Jones would rather go to therapy than throw the ball to Evan Ingram. Like, that's really what I've kind of my conclusion about watching Evan Ingram and looking at the numbers. Among tight ends with at least 15 targets over the past 4 weeks, he ranks dead last in target rate per route run. So he's actually running a decent amount of routes. He's just not getting the rock, like, ever. And that's part of that's on him. Like, he's not getting open. Part of it is Daniel Jones not looking his way. But, when you get out targeted by Dante Pettis and, running backs, it's just kind of concerning. And there's no reason to think that, now they'll start throwing the ball to him when it's been like this for a while. He just has not had that connection. His average depth of target is very close to the line of scrimmage. So you're not even getting a lot of upside of these downfield routes. So it's a big concern for Evan Ingram. But So that's kind of the news and notes. I don't think there's really anything else. Again, just your Browns receivers, you're probably going to want to just let them sit this week, especially with Jarvis Landry. I think that unless you're super desperate, maybe play him, but I think there's a better option. You weren't even expecting him to play at all. So I think that you probably have made adjustments. I probably honestly rather go with Tim Patrick, one of these guys, just as a thrower. All right. So let's get into some of these questions here. Got a boatload of them, so we'll grind through. J2 Nice. Should I start Antonio Gibson this weekend? If he plays, my other option is Elijah Mitchell. So yeah, this is a great start-sit question. I think that I would start Elijah Mitchell. Gibson, yeah, the matchup's good, but he doesn't have the pass catching. And what happens if the football team falls behind? Okay, well now it's J.D. McKissick show. So Gibson, yeah, he could rush for 100 yards, maybe score a touchdown, but Elijah Mitchell can do that too, and he's not hurt. So I've got a lot of confidence Mitchell is the workhorse there for the 49ers. So I'm going to go with Elijah Mitchell. It feels really weird to be like this already, but hey, the fantasy football season is fluid and we need to make adjustments based on new information. So I will go with Elijah Mitchell. I'm in a similar situation actually, and I have Gibson on my bench right now over Elijah Mitchell. Zane B, what up, Andrew? Gotta love bye weeks, man. Yeah, it's tough. Ramondre Stevenson or Devontae Freeman? Yeah, this is another good question. I think that in this case, I would go with Devontae Freeman, assuming that Latavius Murray is out. If not, I'd probably go Ramondre Stevenson. Devontae Freeman is, we talked about it on the Fantasy Pros football podcast, but he's looked really good. Like he's looked like he's got some juice left. He's not as old as Le'Veon Bell is or some of these other running backs. He wasn't as old as Mark Ingram was when he was a fantasy darling in the Baltimore Ravens offense. So Freeman is kind of interesting as a deeper play. I think that he's looked good. He's been working in the passing game a little bit. I think that he is next up behind Latavius Murray. So Devontae Freeman will probably be my guy there. Even if Latavius Murray does play, because he could get banged up, he may be not even 100%. So yeah, I'll probably go Devontae Freeman. But if Latavius Murray's out, it makes it a much better play, in my opinion. Clanger93. Who'd you rather have rest of season, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, or Gesicki? I'm going Dallas Goedert. I think that he just has an elite tight end profile. And we saw Zach Ertz, like when he's been a tight end 1, or he was the tight end 2 last year in points per game when Zach Ertz was hurt. And so I think Dallas Goedert just is going to be a elite asset for the Eagles. Now he's going to be running routes on 75% of dropbacks instead of 50, which is what he was doing before because Ertz was playing on also. So I think that makes a lot of sense to go with Dallas Goedert over guys like Logan Thomas or Mike Gesicki. Gesicki, I don't know, man. It's just I feel like he does this every single year where he starts out hot, he's really streaky. So I mean, all this quarterback stuff with Tua, and it's like, I don't know. I would shy away. And Logan Thomas has a really great role in his offense, but I think Goddard is better talent. So, and if the roles are similar, I'll lean towards the talent. Robert Coleman, starter, sit Landry in the flex. I'm going to sit Landry for all the reasons I just kind of recently talked about from Robert Coleman. Rebecca Field of Dreams, would you play Ertz this week? Yeah, I think Zach Ertz is a solid play. I know that a lot of people picked him up last week to play them against the Tampa Bay Bucks, and now he's on a different team. So it's kind of like, okay, like what do I do with him now? But the matchup is so good. Houston Texans are the worst team against tight ends this year, and usually there usually is a lot of noise with that statistic. Basically, it's like, oh, well, who played Travis Kelce or who played the Raiders, who played Darren Waller? It's like, but the Texans just like have not been really played elite tight ends. They just have been just beaten by them all the time. So I think Ertz makes sense. He's going to take over that Max Williams role, which was pretty similar to the role Ertz already had on Philadelphia, which he had a couple fantasy weeks. So I think he's as good as that back end tight end 1 this week. Jim Plaganis, Bateman or Hollywood full point PPR. I'm still going to go with Marquise Brown. I know Bateman out-targeted him last week, but it's one game, and Hollywood still ran more routes. Hollywood is 1 reception away from a target. I like Bateman a lot, and I think that he will take over in this offense, but I'm not willing to just do it, one game. Rashad Bateman's getting a lot of steam too in DFS this week, so it'll be interesting to see if he lives up to all the hype, as rookie receivers often don't always do. But I'll go with Hollywood there. I'm not willing to just totally write him off after 1 week where, the target shares were pretty even. And like I said, Marquise Brown ran more routes and was he was very close to a touchdown. Carlos Lopez, Myers, Higgins, or Elijah Mitchell, standard league. I'm going to Elijah Mitchell in a standard league. He's the bell cow for the Colts. Colts defense it's not that great. Fantasy Roth Kane, Henderson, and Terry for me. Henderson or Terry? I'm not sure if this is well, it's between those 2 players. I would take Darrell Henderson. That's who I would go with. Henderson is like a top 2 running back this week, top 3, playing the Lions. It's just, you don't have to think about it. And Terry's banged up. Taylor Heineke has not been great lately. He's been really inaccurate. I know McLaurin is ranked in the bottom 4 in terms of target or catchable target rate the past couple weeks. So it's not a Terry problem. It's the quarterback problem, which has just been Terry's problem in his entire career. So it's frustrating, but we got to move on. Sean Knox, need a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, or Derek Carr. I'm going with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow matches up really well against the Ravens. They run a lot of cover 1 and cover 3. It's something I talk about in my article. This is cool stuff you can get over at PFF. We read about it. I don't try to dive way too more into the weeds of like schemes, because teams can change schemes based on who they're playing. But I always kind of find it interesting when I look at defenses around cover 3 or cover 1. Just kind of look at some trends. And Joe Burrow has been the number 1 quarterback this year in terms of PFF grading against cover 1 and cover 3. So that sets up really well against the Ravens defense that relies on a lot of that. And I know that I'm getting a lot of questions about Joe Burrow because it is Ravens and they shut down Justin Herbert. But Joe Burrow has just been on fire this year, and I'm not sitting him. I think that he's just one of those players that, because that's why I've kind of been trying to reevaluate my quarterback process. Like, I've had a lot of hits and misses this year. I think I've been too reliant on defensive matchups and not looking more enough at the quarterback, because unlike other positions like running back, receiver, tight end, we're weighing opportunity a lot. How many targets is this guy going to get? How many routes are they going to run? But at quarterback, everyone kind of gets the same amount of opportunity. Like, you're the quarterback of the team, like you're starting. So they, mostly, again, some teams throw more than others, but a lot of fantasy football production for quarterbacks is tied to touchdowns. Like, if you throw for 4 touchdowns, like, it doesn't matter how many yards you throw for. So you need to throw for a ton of yards to make up the production. And then obviously when you throw in the mobile quarterbacks, like, that's the cheat code. Like, Jalen Hurts, for as bad as he can look sometimes, like, you can never rank him too low, because that, if he rushes for a touchdown, it's like, boom, like 1 rushing touchdown and he's a top 12 quarterback. So just kind of weighing balances, but I would go with Joe Burrow in that case there. Actually, well, now that I mentioned it, I'll go Joe Burrow. All right, Mahmoud Duke Johnson, or D Johnson. There's a lot of D Johnson. I mean, I'm assuming this is D Ernest Johnson. We'll go with that. Or D Williams / Herbert PPR. Man, I can't remember. There's been so many like D Johnsons, J Williams, D Williams. Like, it's a mess. So D'Ernest Johnson, Damian Williams, or Herbert. I'm going to go with D'Ernest Johnson. I think that I don't know what the deal is with Damian Williams. Like, is he coming back? I mean, if he wasn't coming back, I might actually lean Herbert in this case, because Herbert has, like, at least show that he's good. I guess I don't know that about D'Ernest Johnson, but again, going back to the touches, and D'Ernest Johnson doesn't need to light the world on fire to rush for 3 yards a carry, get to 50 yards, and score a touchdown. Like, that's not hard to do. So I'll go with D'Ernest. Try M. There are even questions this week with everyone on bye week. I have streaming options of Ryan, Carr, Darnold, or Tua. Who do you like? I like Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's pretty safe. He's got Ridley back. I think that's huge. He had 2 really good games before they went to their bye week. And look, I mean, the Dolphins are coming off a terrible loss on the road in London. And they, for some reason, elected to not have a bye week after London. And it's just, with all this Tua stuff too, like, it just seems like this could be a spot where the Dolphins kind of lay flat, wherein the Falcons are like, hey, like, we're off our bye week, we're ready to go. Like, let's do it. They got Ridley back. So I think this is a good spot for Ridley, good spot for Pitts, and a good spot for Matt Ryan. So I will go with Matty Ice as my quarterback of choice. Augustina Blancas, hi Andrew, PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hunter Renfrow, or Rashad Bateman. I would go with Rashad Bateman here. I think he has more upside than the other 2 guys. Renfrow is always solid, steady Eddie, but I'm going to chase upside a little bit. Amon-Ra, like, yeah, he's gotten a lot of targets the last couple of weeks. I believe he has 23 targets the last 3 weeks, but I mean, he had like 30 yards receiving in the Ram. Like, he's going to see like a lot of Ramsey, unfortunately, and that just sucks. So I'm going to get away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ishmael Bonilla, hey Erickson, what's up? Half 1 PPR, Myles Gaskin, Michael Carter, or Tim Patrick. Thank you, and have a good rest of your week. I appreciate that. Gaskin, Carter, or Tim Patrick. I'm going Michael Carter. It sounds kind of weird, but I'm not doing this Myles Gaskin thing anymore, where I think that I don't know what his role is in this offense. Like, and that's the thing with running backs. You need to know how to project them for what type of workload they're going to get. But, Miami's just doing whatever they want. They're like, oh, well, you're going to play, you're not going to play. And I just, with Tua, Miles Gaskin's not been really good. Jacoby targeting him, Gaskin a lot, but Tua's throwing the ball more downfield. So I'm going with Michael Carter. I think that we see a rookie bump in usage. He was the starting running back when they last played against the Falcons. I know that myself and one of my other analysts at PFF has been preaching the over on Michael Carter's rushing yards prop. So continue to pound that away. And yeah, I think Michael Carter is someone that is a, fringe top 20 running back this week. Again, it's not as impressive as it sounds because there are 6 teams on bye week. So most weeks he's going to be probably outside the top 30. But this week in particular, I think Michael Carter is a fringe top 20 guy. Kevin Holder, who am I rolling with, Denver or Zona defense? Going to Arizona. I mean, look, Davis Mills, or Case Keenum. Case Keenum is he's playing Case Keenum is better than Davis Mills is. So, I really don't think that the drop off from Baker to Case Keenum, especially in just a 1-game sample size, is going to be super significant. Case Keenum knows how to play quarterback. He's been in this offense before. I'm sure that the offense really isn't going to move that much, which is just unfortunate for. It's not really a knock on Baker as much as it is. Case Keenum's a very, very comparable backup quarterback. You can win games with him. He went through the playoffs with the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, let's go with Ross T. Trade to get Rodgers for Rondale Moore and first in 2-quarterback dynasty. Trade to get Rodgers for Rondale Moore and first. Yeah, I like. So you want to get Rodgers, and you're trading Rondale Moore and a first. Okay. I really like Rondale Moore long term. I guess, yeah, if you need a quarterback. Rodgers could end up going to Pittsburgh next year, which would be friggin' sick. All those wide receivers, bring Devontae over, you get Devontae, Deontay, Chase Claypool. Oh my God, that'd be friggin' mate. So yeah, if you need a quarterback, Rodgers is solid. I like Rondale Moore, but I think that you could definitely get good production from Rodgers at quarterback. If you just need a quarterback, if you don't have quarterbacks, you don't have a chance in 2-quarterback leagues. So I don't hate that there. Samuel Argueta. Good morning, Andrew. Awesome job. In half-point PPR, would you drop Boyd for Stevenson or Hunter Henry? If I need a tight end, I'm going to drop him for Hunter Henry. But, I think this presents a good opportunity. I know Tyler Boyd has been, everybody's punching bag, including mine. I have Tyler Boyd in a bunch of spots, and he's been extremely frustrating to own. But I do want to highlight a couple things about why this matchup against the Baltimore Ravens is not that bad for Tyler Boyd. And maybe you don't start him this week because he has just not seen the target volume, which I get. But I think that we might see a little bit more from him against Baltimore. Baltimore's been a slot funnel defense. So we're going to see more targets, I think, for Tyler Boyd. Again, we've seen Boyd take a major step backwards with guys like Chase, with guys like T. Higgins in this offense. In games with T. Higgins specifically, he only has 4 targets, 9 targets, 5 targets, and 3 targets. So he just have 1 game with 9 targets. So it does show that, he's not totally a zero, even with all those other guys there. And it's just been absurd efficiency that Jamar Chase has not come in and been a target monster. He's really come. T. Higgins actually leads the team in targets over the last 2 weeks. He has 1 more target than Jamar Chase. But if you look at the Baltimore Ravens, they're ranked dead last in yards after the catch allowed to the slot. It's 22nd in completions allowed to the slot. So I think that we're going to see Joe Burrow look more inside, not necessarily try to just chuck it deep every single time to Jamar Chase. He's probably going to take some shots, no doubt. But I think Tyler Boyd is going to actually have a decent game. If you look at PFF's wide receiver cornerback matchup chart, which you can go check over on the website at pff.com, the matchup chart is something that I use a lot when I'm trying to decide between 2 closely ranked players. It helps me a lot with the Buccaneers wide receivers. I made that mistake last week where I did not buy into Antonio Brown's cornerback matchup enough. And, that's why he went off and it was the best. So this week I'm kind of following a similar approach, not making that mistake where I look at it and Tyler Boyd has the best wide receiver cornerback matchup this week, not Chase, not T. Higgins. Now, if I have all 3 of those guys, I'm starting the other 2 guys over Tyler Boyd, no doubt. But there's a lot of bye weeks. I don't think Tyler Boyd is going to be a total zero. I think that he gets a get right spot for him as a wide receiver 3 option. So I would be able to go back to him at least 1 more time. So yeah, if I need a tight end, then yeah, I'll drop him for Hunter Henry, but I'll keep him. I won't necessarily drop him for Stevenson. Stephen Coe. Hey, 2 questions. Week 7 quarterback, Brady or Stafford? Oh man, that is a hell of a question. You have those 2 top tier quarterbacks. And I've actually gone back and forth with this myself. I have both of them in my top 5, really trying to decide, which one do I like more, Brady or Stafford? Stafford, Brady. And I'm probably going to go with Matthew Stafford. And I'm just actually changing my rankings right now. I just don't know. I don't see the line stopping Stafford. Like the Bears have like a decent defense. Like they slowed down the Packers last week a little bit. Like Devontae Adams didn't have a monster game. And if you look at the last couple of times that Brady's actually played the Bears, like he's not been exactly great. So does that really matter? I don't know. But I mean, most of the defenses he's played this year, he's just ripped to shreds because they haven't been bad defense. But the Patriots shut him down enough. And I think that the Bears are just a harder defense to throw on. So I'll go with Stafford. I mean, it's close, but I'll go with Matthew Stafford. The Lions, man, I don't like, how are they going to stop him? I just don't see that in the range of outcomes. I just really don't. And it's not even like volume for the Lions. Like the reason that they've given up points is actually because of just efficiency. Like they're last in passer rating, last in yards per attempt, last in explosive pass play rate. So like total yards is not even necessarily that high. Like it's kind of middle of the pack, but it's the efficiency numbers that are off the charts when your quarterback plays the Lions. It's just like you just rip it up for like 11 yards per attempt. So I think Stafford's just in a good spot where the Bears, this game has a better chance of like the Bears kind of like bringing it down. They run the ball a lot. If they get a lead, they're going to try to run the ball, slow the game down a little bit. Whereas the Lions, I mean, Jared Goff, I mean, he's going to have to like do something in this game to try to keep it competitive. Like, I mean, they're not going to win. I think that's safe to say. But will they cover whatever they're favored by? Like, I don't know. It's a lot. Let's go with, all right, next question here. Jonathan Ulmer, since you're sitting Landry, would you flex DPJ or Boyd? That's an interesting question. I would go with Boyd. Yeah. Look, I get like the urge to like, I got to jam in DPJ, but I was talking about this before I got on here, but you don't need to start guys on Thursday night if you don't have to. Like, don't force yourself into making a suboptimal decision because you're, I'm going to watch this guy. It's like, it just doesn't work. Like, I've done it too many times. First thing that comes to mind is I'm like, I'll start Terrell Pryor. When he was a thing, I was a wide receiver on a Thursday night game, and it was a disaster. And it makes it worse to watch the game when you started a guy that just is not doing anything. So, yeah, DPJ is interesting as a desperation play, but if you had Boyd, I'd still roll with Boyd. I mean, these guys got back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Yeah, I'll go with Tyler Boyd. Keith Tapp, should I start Chase Edmonds this week? My running backs have bye weeks, PPR. Yeah, you should start Chase Edmonds. Look, Edmonds is in a kind of a tricky spot where the game script, if the Arizona Cardinals blow out the Texans, you're not happy necessarily because it's probably going to be a lot of James Conner, but another lesson I've kind of learned through doing start sits is you never want to overweight game script, project the game script, because as much as we think we know everything, we really don't. Like weird stuff happens where, okay, like Kyler Murray fumbles the ball. Oh, the Texans score a touchdown. It's like, you never know what's going to happen in these games. So just going in knowing, they're just going to get killed. Like I'm going to just base all of my decisions around that, I think is just a little bit of a stretch. So what we do know is the Texans don't have a good run defense. Like that is a fact. Whether they win or lose this game, like they are not good at stopping the run. And Chase Edmonds leads the NFL in yards per carry. He's tied with Tony Pollard with 6 yards per carry. Like they give up explosive runs, and I'm not going to bench one of the most explosive running backs in the NFL against a very bad run defense. So again, he didn't play a lot in the second half because he was dealing with a shoulder injury. So I get he does not necessarily have a super safe floor, but I can't bench him in such a good matchup when he is a very good running back. So yeah, I'm going to start Chase Edmonds. Ryan G, should I stream Panthers D or Rams D? Oh, Rams D. You gotta do the Rams D. They are priced up so high in DFS this week. It's comical how expensive. You gotta like take out a second mortgage to play them in daily fantasy, the Rams DST. It's comical how expensive they are, but it makes sense against the Lions. It actually doesn't really make sense because I would rather just play the Cardinals mostly because Davis Mills is worse than Jared Goff, but I guess some other people see it different ways. They're just really buying into this revenge game. Octacon, half-point PPR, Dearness Johnson, or play Marquise Brown. I would go with Dearness Johnson. Again, I'm looking for those touches there. I'm looking for those touches, half-point PPR. Marquise is fine, but again, Bateman's back. That did cause his ceiling to be lessened, so it is a concern. Gentry Silver, yo, Andrew, love the show, half-point PPR. Pick 2, Waddle, Higgins, Gesicki, Myers, or Rondale. First 2, Waddle and Higgins. Waddle, good matchup against the Falcons. Higgins leads the team in targets the last 2 weeks. Whenever I don't have to start a tight end, I will always not start a tight end. Just even though Gesicki really isn't even a tight end. Like, he's really not a tight end at all. Parker's coming back, though, so I don't know if we see as massive a games as Waddle and Gesicki had last week. Good boy, collectibles. Hey, Andrew, thanks for doing this. What are your thoughts on Antonio Gibson? Should I try and trade? Yeah, I would probably look to move him at this point. Again, you drafted Antonio Gibson with the idea that, okay, like he'd be a top 5 guy. Like he gets the CMC role. Like this is going to be awesome. But that's not happening. Like it's not his role. We've seen enough of it the last couple weeks. And McKissick's still the guy in pass catching downs. And that's not going to change unless there's an injury. So I would, and not to say that Gibson is like useless. Like that, he's not like a bad running back. He's still a top. I believe he's like right in the fringe as an RB1. Like he's in that RB12 range, which from where you drafted him is really kind of where he was. So you're not like terrible. Like I mean, last week was obviously disappointing because he got hurt, but you're not like totally out on Antonio Gibson as like a player. But that sky high upside's not there. So if you can flip him for a guy that maybe you could see seeing an expanded role, maybe something else plus Jonathan Taylor. Maybe that's something that you could potentially do. So yeah, I would try to trade him. That's what I'm doing. I know I have him in a couple spots, and I'm trying to move him. Mac Gaming, Cole Kmet or Njoku. Great question. I love Cole Kmet this week. I love Cole Kmet. I think that he's in a really good spot. Buccaneers have allowed the 3rd most receptions to tight ends this year. And Cole Kmet, I look at a lot. One of the things I really attach myself to and pride myself on is looking at tight ends and routes run. It's really predictive, I found. You can check it over on the website, pff.com. I've also tweeted out a bunch. I'm on Twitter at @AndrewErickson_, that routes run is a very predictive measurement for tight ends. If tight ends are running a ton of routes, especially on a per drop back basis, then they're going to result in fantasy production. That's why Ricky Seals-Jones has been super productive the last couple of weeks, because he's running a route like on every single drop back. Like he's so involved. He's being used like a wide receiver. Whereas, and Cole Kmet is up there as well. Like he's ran a route on over 70% of Justin Fields' dropbacks. That's really good. That's top 10. And the matchup is good. So I think Cole Kmet is in a good spot. We should see an up-tempo game from the Bears. They should have to throw more against Bucks. So I really think this is actually a good game for all Bears involved. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields. I think that this is a game where we could see them actually have decent fantasy outing. Dan Marks, start Odell or drop A.J. Dillon, Pollard for Amon-Ra. Oof, that is rough. I would actually just probably start A.J. Dillon. I think I would start A.J. Dillon. I don't want to start Odell. I don't even know if he's going to play in this game. He could be a decoy. A.J. Dillon has been getting at least a decent amount of touches. The football team is good defense, or a good run defense, I should say. So Dillon's been getting involved. Like he's been getting touches. So I mean, Amon-Ra, like I don't know what his upside is. Like maybe he like stumbles into a couple targets, but especially if this is like a half-point PPR, I would just probably just start A.J. Dillon. I mean, not drop Odell, but I mean, if you have to do what you do, I mean, someone dropped Odell in one of my leagues. I picked him up, and I may have to drop him again because I need to make moves. I need to pick up a kicker. Unfortunately, that sucks. But hey, you got to do what you got to do in these the bipocalypse. I know a couple people call it like the binado, like it's for now. Bipocalypse. Come on, get with the times, people. Bipocalypse. John Peterson, Allen Robinson, or Michael Carter, half-point PPR. Go Allen Robinson. Like, all right, I guess I'll do my spiel on Allen Robinson because I've gotten a couple questions about it. So this is it. This is it. This is the week for Allen Robinson. I know he's been terrible all year. He has one game with double-digit targets, which came with Andy Dalton under center. But I'm shooting my shot, calling a shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Okay, I wrote that in the article. But I'm shooting my shot. Allen Robinson. Look, top 4 target share last 4 weeks, 28%. He's seen a ton of end zone targets. He saw 219 air yards last week. So these are things I look at, high-value targets. I do a high-value targets article every single week, just breaking down end zone targets, carries inside the 5-yard line, 10-yard line, air yards, deep targets, and Allen Robinson, check. Checks off all the boxes. Like, this is a week that you want to play him. Buccaneers are going to make them throw. No one can run on the Bucs. It's impossible. You can't do it. So they're going to have to throw the football. And what I saw from Justin Fields, what I've seen from Justin Fields progressively is that they are starting to open things up a little bit. He ran more last week because he had more dropbacks. They're not just going to sit and run the football and get killed by the Bucs. Like, they have to do something. And Matt Nagy actually has a pretty good track record against Tampa Bay. Like, Mitchell Trubisky had a massive game against the Bucs, way back when, 6 touchdowns. Last year, the Bears beat the Bucs. The famous, 4-finger game with Tom Brady against Nick Foles. And then Tom Brady didn't shake his hand. So bad blood between these teams. So I just think that we see the Bears show out. I think this is the game, the spot that you want. And look, we know if this was like Robbie Anderson is someone, he's a sit this week because I've seen too much of this inefficiency to just get back into him at all. Like, he's had opportunities. Like, he's seeing He has 30 targets the last 3 weeks. He has been terrible. He is PFF's worst graded wide receiver. And like that's going to get me off of Allen Robinson because there's no way the coaches can review the tape and be like, yeah, we got to get Robbie Anderson more involved. It's like, no, we need to like get other people involved. Like Robbie Anderson needs to get out of his own head. Like he needs to figure stuff out. Whereas Robinson is just doing his thing. And we know Allen Robinson is a good football player. Like I can say that very, very confidently. You don't just stumble into 150 targets the last 2 years by doing bad. I know Darnell Mooney's looked really good well, but this is, and look, I wouldn't even say Allen Robinson is like a buy low guy either. Like I just think that in this particular week, this particular matchup, he is a very good player in a very good spot. And if he scores 3 touchdowns on 6 targets, then he'll be a sell high next week. Like we got to be remaining fluid, but I think that this is the week if you have Robinson. I know I have him in a couple spots and I'm starting him this week. Like this is it. And if it doesn't work out, well, then you got to move on. And we have to just totally reevaluate Robinson. I mean, he's already been kind of like downgraded to wide receiver 3 status anyway, but this is the matchup to play him in. Matthew M. Sterling Shepard or Chris Godwin. Oh man, Chris Godwin is falling. People are afraid. I'm going Chris Godwin. Again, talent, not even close. And if you look at the way the Bears defense is, they've actually been a slot funnel defense, allowed the 3rd most receiving yards to slot wide receivers this season. So I think it's a good spot for Godwin to bounce back. Like he's seeing opportunities, guys. Like he's seeing the opportunities. He's seeing a lot of targets near the 5-yard line. Again, it's just, Antonio Brown is just a freaking magnet. Like he is the highest, he's the 2nd highest target rate per route run this year, behind only Devontae Adams. So when he's on the field, like Brady's just like, oh, I got to throw it to Antonio Brown. But Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are running more routes than Antonio Brown. So yeah, I still think that Godwin is still a great player. And I'm not going to bench him for Shepard. Shepard, yeah, he's going to get 6 targets no matter what. But we'll see how much upside he has. Godwin has 3 touchdown potential. And I don't think Shepard has that. Kingbird 29. Do I pick Booker and drop Khalil Herbert? No, I would not do that. I want to keep Khalil Herbert because of the talent. I think that he's a really good player. Booker is replaceable, more replaceable than Herbert is. So again, if I'm like 0-5, and you don't even know like what their projection. It's probably being pretty close between Booker and Herbert. So we don't know what Damian Williams is coming back. Yeah, I would just keep Herbert. It's not worth it to switch it. Like I think I have Booker ranked higher than Herbert, but it's not so far apart that I would just drop one for the other. Because like you have to think long term. So unless you're like 0-5, you're like or 0-6, and you're like, I just don't even care. I like have to win this week. Then okay, I guess Booker. But I mean, their projection is so similar that I don't even think that it's worth it to just pick up Herbert or pick up Booker over Herbert. Metcalf or Marquise Brown. He's going to still go with DK Metcalf. I think the volume will be there for him. He's also just a monster, and he will find you if I tell you to sit him. If it was Lockett, though, Lockett is a sit for me. I guess I'll talk about him. I like this vibe here. I'm going through the questions, kind of hitting on the start sits as they kind of come up. Look, Lockett, I didn't list him as a sit last week because I wanted to see, okay, a week with Geno Smith, under center, under practice, like what does this offense look like? And of course, it looks terrible. It's just Alex Collins running the ball against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw Lockett get 5 targets, 2 catches for 35 yards. It's just, like, guys, you cannot replace the connection that Russell Wilson had with Tyler Lockett. Perfect passer rating through 4 weeks, 158.3 when Russell Wilson threw it to Lockett. Like, you cannot recreate that chemistry with any other quarterback and receiver. You just can't. They just were on the same page whenever Russ would get, Russ is under pressure, he rolls out, he's juking out defenders, he's chucking it deep to Tyler Lockett, 80-yard touchdown. Boom. But all those other things are concerning. Like, we just don't see that as much we're not seeing that from Geno Smith. So that's kind of why I'm more inclined to bench Lockett than start him. Again, guys, like Lockett has had stretches of games where he's sucked and they've been terrible. Like last year, second half, he was terrible. And that was with Russell Wilson. Like, so just kind of take your lumps now. Just be like, all right, Lockett, just suck. Get it out of the way. And when Russell Wilson comes back, you'll be on fire. So, I mean, Lockett's probably like a buy low guy, honestly. Because you can't really play him right now. I'm not playing him with Geno Smith or if Cam Newton goes there. Like, look, I'm a Patriots fan. I've seen enough of Cam Newton to know he's not good for wide receivers. So, yeah, I would probably buy a low on Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson's going to come back, and then it'll be wheels up. But until then, leave him on your bench and just move on. Fanter Hawkinson, Caitlin Rollison. Man, Hawkinson is just so banged up. I don't know what is his deal. Fan is on fire right now, so I'll go no Fan. Yeah, it's on fire. I've seen a lot of great usage without Albert Owegaboom. I think I said his name right. Albert Owegaboom. I'm butchering it. But yeah, He's running route like almost on 80% of the dropbacks. Elite usage. He had a blow-up game last week because he's just nasty. And Hawkinson, the offensive lines has just been kind of bleh. And I don't know. Are we going to see like Jalen Ramsey lock up Hawkinson as like the number one target? I think that the Lions are going to try to take away Hawkinson, which causes a lot of issues for Detroit. Mano Giving. Should I trade AJ Brown for James Conner and Woods? No. This is somebody trying to buy low on you hardcore right now. This is not what you want to do. Like, you want to be on the other side of that trade. So you want to be trading James Conner and Robert Woods for AJ Brown. Like, and that is a very good trade. I'm glad you brought that up. I have Robert Woods in one league, and I'm going to try to trade him for AJ Brown. You want to buy AJ Brown, 100%. You don't want James Conner's been super touchdown dependent, and Robert Woods has been, his target share is just gone. Like Cooper Kupp stepped in, has not only like increased his target share, but has, I mean, it's 31%, I believe, the 6 weeks. It's so good. It's only him, Brandon Cooks, and Devontae Adams that have over a 30% target share this year. And that means it's not going away. Like, it's going to be 30% all year, which is just bonkers. Like, 20% is good. Like, 25%, 23%, like, that's all good. Like, 30% is insane. So, yeah, I would not do that trade. Matt Ellis, PPR, Dearness or Devonta Smith? Going with Dearness. I just like the volume with Dearness Johnson. I think he's going to catch passes. And Devonta, look, he's been the target leader, but they're starting to get Rager involved a little bit more. They're trying to get Quez Watkins more involved. The Raiders' defense is also not even really that bad. Like, Casey Hayward's been pretty good. So I'll go with Dearness. Yeah. I'm doing this new thing where I really just, I hit on guys that I like and just tell them, I'm not looking as much at the rankings because it's not as I'm going off like feel, but I think Dearness Johnson is a good play. I have some reservations about Smith, so Dearness, like, that's the play. Eric Turner, are we big on Goddard or give him a week and start Fant over him? Yeah, I mean, if you have Fant, I guess I would probably just play him. I expect big things from Goddard this week, so it is definitely very close for me, but Hurts has been up and down. The Raiders do have a good pass rush. Again, like, the Hurts experience, is that the best way to put it? I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's a great quarterback, or a good fantasy quarterback, but it's just kind of, sometimes you just don't like the way he gets there. A little Blake Bortles-esque, but I mean, Goddard, I think, should have great usage. But if you're just buying him in Fant, I mean, Fant is fine. Like, he's in a good spot. I'm not worried about the Browns defense. Him and Courtland Sutton are just both so good players. So I'll just keep Fant in there. And again, guys, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you want to join the chat. Ask a question. Talk to me, Andrew Erickson. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. My Twitter handle is at Andrew Erickson _. I'm also on TikTok. I mean, that's what the kids do these days. And that's something that I'm trying to dabble in a little bit. Go on this internet thing and make funny dances and do whatever. Talk about fantasy. It's actually fantasy TikTok, so it's fun. It's fun. All right. Dennis Rios. Yo, Andrew. What's up, Denny? What do you think about A.J. Brown? Oh, I love A.J. Brown. He has a 31% target share the last couple weeks. Julio, man, do you want my hamstring? I'll give it to you. Like, I don't need it. Julio Jones is banged up again, and he's got the Chiefs, man. He's got the Chiefs. So A.J. Brown, buy low, buy low, buy low, buy low, buy low, buy low, buy low. If there's only one thing you come away from this broadcast is buy low on A.J. Brown. And that's a reminder to me, like, I need to do that more. I need to just, like, go and make trades and just get A.J. Brown. And wherever I don't already have him on, I do have a lot of rosters already. It's one of those things where I'm writing a bunch of buy lows for players like Calvin Ridley's a buy low, and I'm just like looking at my own rosters. I'm like, man, like, my teams are just filled with buy lows. I can't buy low anymore because I already have all the buy low players. So again, if you have these guys on your rosters, like, I know it's frustrating. If you have Owen Ridley, like, he's been like wicked disappointing, and you're like, oh, like, is he ever going to turn around? But like, yes, like, the usage is there. He's fourth expected fantasy points per game. He's got Miami this week. Absolute sieve against wide receivers. So I think Ridley's going to smash. So I absolutely love him this week. Michelle Sotak, roll with McLaurin this week or pick up Waddle. I'm rolling with McLaurin. Again, I think that McLaurin's still seeing the great peripheral usage. Just quarterback play has been bad. So Heineke's just got to find a way to hit him, be more consistent. So I'll stick with McLaurin. Yash, half point PPR, Melvin Gordon, Kirk, or Green for the flex spot. Going Christian Kirk. And this is interesting. Again, going back to the coverage scheme thing, I was doing some research earlier today. I was rewatching that Cardinals-Browns game, kind of getting prepped up for tonight. It's Browns-Broncos action. And, I looked up the coverage scheme that the Houston Texans run, and it's, I don't know, I can't exactly remember what exactly it is. I think it's cover one. I don't remember the exact scheme, but whatever scheme it was, I looked it up, and then I cross-referenced to the Texans receiver, or the Cardinals receivers, and AJ Green has no catches against that scheme. So again, this Cardinals receiving corps has been really hard to figure out every single week. It's oh, Rondell Moore, oh, Christian Kirk, oh, AJ Green. So, but the way that things were distributed with those targets was it was actually Christian Kirk that was more involved, not AJ Green. So I will go Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk also led the team in targets last week. I think that's a good indication. He saw his routes run increase. I wish I could tell you that I know exactly which Cardinals receiver is going to go off. I don't, but I'm using all knowledge I have at my disposal, and it's leading me towards Christian Kirk. So I will go with Christian Kirk. I know I picked up AJ Green in a league because I couldn't get Christian Kirk, so I'm I don't know what to do. I'll just guess Christian Kirk. I'll just play him and see what happens. Or AJ Green. But I would if I had Kirk in as the higher waiver priority, and I unfortunately just didn't get him. Jackson, risk Mike Evans or AJ Brown for 1 PPR. AJ Brown. Cannot deny AJ Brown. Daryl Gerhardt, Shepard or T. Higgins or Pittman in full point PPR. Yeah, I'd go Shepard over both those guys. He's so safe. He's locked and loaded. That target share. Alex Katana, deep AG tonight or take a chance on Quez as a desperate flex for this week. Ooh, that is an interesting question. I'll do the caveat if, you know what? Yeah, Quez has been more involved. It's close between these two guys. I guess I'll go with DPJ. I mean, he's looked good the last couple of weeks. Even if Odell Beckham plays, he's probably going to be a decoy. And you do have this narrative, the corollary where backup quarterback, backup wide receiver, they get more involved. And DPJ has made big plays. He's efficient last year. I know he started the season out slow, but I was kind of expecting this from him anyway. I liked him as a prospect. So I'll go with DPJ. AJ Dillon or Damian Harris. Tim Smith. I'm going to go with Damian Harris. New York Jets. Roll over them. Roll Tide, Damian. Roll Tide. And Anu Patel, Stark Bateman or Jarvis Landry, PPR. Man. I think I actually might go Jarvis Landry there. It's close. No, I'll go with Sean Bateman. Caden T. It's weird. I'm saying oh yeah, bench Landry, but then when I see your option, maybe it's no, I'll still go with Sean Bateman. I just don't know what Jarvis Landry's issue is. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, how much he's going to play. I guess I'll go with Bateman. It's risky though. Caden T, pick 2, Jamar Chase, Chase Edmonds, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown. Jamar Chase and Antonio Brown. Just cannot bench Antonio Brown. He just has to, you have to start him. He's just so targeted so heavily, and Jamar Chase is on fire. If guys are on fire, you don't bench them. You just can't. Sony or Fant in the flex. We can go with Fant. And that's from Emil Deere. Joey Raphael. Should I trade Chubb for James Robinson and Judy? Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. James Robinson's getting alpha usage. Jerry Judy should be coming back. So, yeah, I like that trade. Dallas Walker, drop Goff for Keenum, Fields, or Wilson, 2 quarterback league. Oh, my God, you have Fields available? Pick him up now and start him. Immediately, Dallas Walker. Drop Goff, get Justin Fields. Nick Shockley, should I start Burrow or Darnold? Burrow all day, every day. John Cena. Hey, what's up, John? McLaurin or Higgins? I'm going with TMC and Terry McLaurin. Aiden Rodriguez. What's up, Drew? What's up? Start Ertz, Seal Jones, Noah Fant, full point PPR. Going with Noah Fant. Peter Chan, half point PPR. Rondell Moore or Drake in the flex? Thanks. Go Rondell Moore. Kenyon Drake had 5 touches last week and just happened to score 2 touchdowns. Not sustainable. Rondell Moore, his production has not either been sustainable as well, but he just makes plays whenever he gets the ball. And I think he'll actually touch the ball probably more times than Kenyon Drake. They're getting involved so many different ways. He gets carries. Whenever he's on the field, he gets the ball. And Kenyon Drake is not necessarily in that category. So I will go with Rondell Moore. K. Marquez. What's up, brother? Devontae Booker or Sanders for RB2. Miles Sanders, guys. Miles Sanders, 83% snap share last week. Season high. Kenneth Gainwell has been nowhere to be found the last 2 weeks. Miles Sanders, this is a big week for him. The Raiders defense has given up the same amount of explosive runs as the Houston Texans. Fun fact. So if Miles Sanders was starting against the Texans, you would start him. So you're going to start him against the Raiders. All right, Dylan Rooney. Please help me out. Dylan really needs help. Mitchell, Kissick, DeErnest, Murray, start 1, bench 1. Okay, so what do you do with the other guys? You got to start 1. Okay, I'm starting Elijah Mitchell, and I'm going to bench Latavius Murray because I don't think he's going to play. So that's why I'm benching. Fantasy J Crush, Antonio Brown or Sutton. Oh my God, I hate these questions because every time I bench Antonio Brown, he always burns me. I'm sure this is why J Crush is feeling this. I'm still going Sutton. Sutton leads the NFL in air yards. He's like Eric Coryell, Cortland Sutton, like captain, we're ready to fly. I just can't bench Sutton. Like, Sutton is so good, and Antonio Brown is also really good. So yeah, I can't. I think Sutton could have a massive game tonight. So I'm going Sutton. Montez Bigham, Melvin Gordon, or Mike Davis? Mike Davis. Mike Davis gets more touches. Like, Mike Davis is like 15 touches, working the passing game, gets 50 yards. Not happy about it, but he's solid. He's solid. And just Denver Broncos, I just don't know what. I'm actually really interested to watch these guys live. I've watched their replays, but I haven't really watched any much Denver live, and I kind of want to see just the two guys next to each other a little bit more. Jacob Williams, sacrificed my kicker position to acquire Dawson Knox. 100%. Screw kickers. High Society 1995. DeErnest or Mike Davis full point PPR. Okay, this one I'm checking the rankings. I'm cheating. I'm sorry. Cheating. It's full point PPR actually. Let me check the ranks. I know I recently moved DeErnest up, but I think I still have big Mike Davis ranked ahead of him. Yeah, Mike Davis still for me. Hey, Tim Ryan. Hey, Andrew, love the show. Thanks, man. Tim Patrick or Landry? I'll go Tim Patrick. Unless I can get more information about Landry, that's like, oh, he's going to play full snaps, like, yada, yada, yada. Like, okay, like, that sounds great. But, there's a new quarterback. We don't know how Case Keenum is going to work with Landry. We know Baker Mayfield had a good connection with Landry, so we'll see. We got influx by Odell Beckham, so keep up to date with the news. I will tweet something out, so make sure you follow me on Twitter at @Erickson_ about my thoughts on Landry. Make sure you check out the rankings, pff.com. So get some idea of like where I have Landry ranked. I'm leaning towards sitting him in most cases. And Tim Patrick's a good alternative. So I like that. If it was like someone like, again, like, and the Amon-Ra St. Brown was kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of gross. Jefferson might have more upside. But yeah, Tim Patrick, he's solid. Mike B, is that a twin bed? Yes. This is my guest room / office / man cave. So yeah. And when, those late nights, man, I just can't get to my bedroom. I just crash here in the office, like the hardcore NFL coaches just sleep in the office. Michael Barron, Seth, is Booker playing this week? Yeah, I believe so. I haven't heard anything different. I hope that he's playing. I know I'm starting him in a couple spots. Yeah, so I think he's playing. Khalil Herbert or Dearness Johnson? Going Dearness. I wish I could tell you Damian Williams is not playing. Like, if Damian Williams isn't playing, I might actually change my mind, but unfortunately we don't have that information, so going with Dearness. Justin P, I need a wide receiver, PPR, Darnell Mooney or Tim Patrick. I like Darnell Mooney. I like Mooney this week. I like the Bears this week. It feels weird. It's like I'm like hashtag bear down. Like I'm just in on the Bears. Like I think they can deliver. So we'll see. The real JJG. Keep Hopkins. If not, who can I trade him for? So interesting. So I know I just had a trade go down in one of the leagues I'm in. The guy traded Hopkins and Leonard Fournette for Ezekiel Elliott. I liked the Hopkins side more, but I think you got to put him in the look. Hopkins is kind of like Antonio Gibson in a way, where besides the injury, like Hopkins is not a top wide receiver anymore in fantasy. He's not. Like his target share is way down. It's less than 20%, but he's been really efficient, so he's still like been pretty good. But his target share is like just way, way, way down. So I would be open to trading him for. I would try to package him. I really. So one of these, a running back, Jonathan Taylor, maybe, if you need a running back. So I think those are there. Last one, Moscow Venom, Stash, Deshaun Watson. Man. 2 quarterback league, yes. 1 quarterback league, no. I don't even think he's going to play, but 2 quarterback league where quarterbacks matter, yeah. I can throw him on there for a week, kind of see how things happen. But this happens it seems like it happens every couple months where there's like a lot of noise, like, Deshaun Watson, like he's coming back, and then it's like nothing. So I don't have any insider information, unfortunately. If I did, I probably would be able to share it anyway, but I do not know the intricacies of the situation, and I think in a one quarterback league, there's still other quarterback. I mean, I'd rather have like Justin Fields on my roster. So, I mean, people picked up Josh Gordon and he's done nothing. So, yeah, that's it. But again, I'll thank you all for tuning in, checking out the live stream. Again, make sure you like this video, subscribe so you can get into the chat, talk to me. We'll have a great time. It'll be fun. So thank you all for joining. Again, I'm on Twitter at Andrew Erickson _. I'm on PFF, Pro Football Focus. Check me out. I'm also on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Saturday, 3 to 5, Sunday, 7 to 9. So go check that out. Go follow them on Twitter. And you can call into the show if you want to talk to me. You have a start sit question that I did not answer here on the chat. You can just call into the radio show and be like, Andrew, I watch you on the Fantasy Pros. Like, what's the deal? So a lot of interaction. Love interacting with you guys. I'm always, again, on Twitter. If I didn't get to your question, you really have a question, just come at me. DMs are always open. And I'm happy to answer as many questions as I possibly can. I can't always get to all of them, but I try to do the best I can. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next time, next week. So yeah, thank you all for checking us out. And yeah, Fantasy Pros, go week 7. Go Broncos. Go Browns. Should be a great time.